Matt from Education News. Today is the first part of a two-part series on the top 10 concerns I have about using artificial intelligence, AI. Things like ChatGPT, Tome, Dolly in the classroom. Today we're covering 1 through 5, which is privacy concerns, bias, misinformation, lack of transparency, as well as just the difficulty of use of these types of software. If you'd like to see part 2, like and subscribe. It'll be coming out in a few days. So first big concern is privacy. This is a big one. We definitely live in a world where a ton of companies are consistently getting hacked, a lot of information gets released, and people are just uploading things they probably shouldn't upload in the first time. So recently, the New York Times just came out with an article called How to Use ChatGPT and Still Be a Good Person. Catchy headline, but it really dives into what people are already doing with AI and the things that they're uploading. Recently, there was a app called Lensa AI, and it was an app that allowed people to upload selfies, and then it would make an artistic representation of them. It would change their face, or it would change their background, make it cartoony or really hyper-realistic. It was a great artistic representation, but at the end of the day, people were still uploading their selfies. There's already been instances of people uploading diary entries into ChatGPT and seeing what happens. So an individual would upload a diary entry from when they were 8, and then 12, and then 14, and say, write a diary entry like me. It's very interesting and provides some fascinating feedback, but at the end of the day, they're still uploading private information, especially things that go that far back. So when we use software like this, we definitely need to think about privacy. While OpenAI has stated that they attempt to make sure that any information is kept private, they don't release it to the public, all of these things, accidents happen. So at the best opportunity, we just hope that their servers or their software or anything else is secure enough that nobody will get that information. Privacy is a big concern. I think right now they're doing an okay job with it, but in the future, when this becomes much more readily available and much more widely used, this may present a pretty big problem, and it's something we should definitely keep aware of. Second big issue would be bias. We can't confirm what information ChatGPT or their other software is using. OpenAI has essentially used a trove of documents and it pulls from that. However, we don't know what that is, and there's, as far as I can tell, no intention to actually release that information to the public. It would be hugely useful, but I don't know very many people that would be willing to dive through that amount of documentation in the first place. So useful, even if they released it, I don't know if people would actually do it. That's a lot even for me. So instances of bias are already in the news. In a December 8th article by Bloomberg titled OpenAI Chatbot Spits Out Biased Musings Despite Guardrails, they kind of dig into it. They do acknowledge that ChatGPT and OpenAI has put in guardrails to prevent kind of like Nazi propaganda. However, they were able to get it to use essentially words that would show that only white or Asian men make good software engineers. While that took some finagling, it's still available. And as this gets better and better and better, the implications of that are pretty severe, especially if it can write like someone else. So bias is big. If as educators we use this, we want to have as correct information as possible and that doesn't cause any harm to students. So bias in a software is really important. The bias is there because it is designed by people, and people put in whatever biases they have. OpenAI seems to do a good job right now of going back and trying to build these guardrails and everything else. But that's one company, and that may not be the case for the rest of time. There may be a lot more other companies that come out that are not willing to put those guardrails in, so the opportunities for AI or this text-based software or art generation to create things for nefarious deeds is very, very high. So that's an additional thing to keep an eye on. The fourth thing is a lack of transparency. There's already been a number of instances where I go into this software, ChatGPT, and try to do something and it is a wildly different result than the day before. This was last week going to be paper writing. It originally would just do it, and then it provided outlines, and then it documented, okay, you need to talk to a professor, and then it was a 15-second wait. That's a 24-hour shift. That's probably a good thing, but I do believe that this type of technology requires companies to be transparent about the changes they make. It is important because a more informed population probably will be more ethical users. All right, last but not least for part one is the difficulty of the use itself. Right now, a tool is only as good as the person that knows how to use it, and it does require pretty significant finagling. If you've seen my previous videos regarding lesson plans, it shows that yes, it does have state curriculum standards where it has information, but it says as a AI system, I'm unable to do this. You say, do it anyways, and it will. So if you're not fully aware of how the system runs, it may not be super useful, or it may provide incorrect information. So a simplified process may be helpful, and we'll see what that does in the future. It's likely something that people are already providing feedback for, but once again, they need to make this as simple as possible for the average user. Also, maybe a system that allows some people to go in and really define their needs. If you're a software engineer, that may look radically different than a second grader, right? So a maybe tiered system or a step-up system that allows more access or less access, depending on what you need, may be helpful. However, they would also need to be very upfront about what that is. All right, that's part one. There will be a part two coming out in a couple days. I'll be my next 5. Go ahead and subscribe if you want to go ahead and see that. Additionally, if you have any ethical concerns that maybe you'd like to see me address, please let me know and I will do my best to try to include that on the next round.